In this video, we will review how to manually add an endpoint to the Polycom collaboration infrastructure software. We will use the Polycom HDX codec as an example. Navigate to the web interface of the HDX. Once the interface is available, click on the Admin menu at the top of the screen. Select the Network menu and then the IP network option. The first listing in this menu is the H323 settings. Check the Enable IP H323 box. Fill in the H323 name and H323 extension fields. Now, select the drop-down box for the Use Gatekeeper setting and select Specify. Add the DMA server IP address to the primary gatekeeper field. Next, move down to the SIP section. Select the Enable SIP checkbox to view these settings. Set the SIP server configuration setting to Specify. Start by adding the address of the SIP server. For the Polycom system, this needs to be pointed to the DMA server. Next, add the sign-in address for the device. The sign-in address typically uses an email format, or what is technically called a SIP URI. You can add just a basic username in this field, and the DMA system will automatically add the server IP address to complete the format. Add a username and password also if your company requires authentication for SIP registration. Click the Update button at the top of the page to apply the settings. To check the registration status of your endpoint, navigate to the Diagnostics menu in the top menu bar and make sure the System Status option is selected. You see the Gatekeeper and Registrar server entries with the green arrow. Click Gatekeeper or Registrar server to see additional information. Once the codec is registered, navigate to the DMA interface and find the listing for the device. This is under the Network and Endpoint menu. Locate the codec with either the sign-in address that you just used or the IP address. Notice here that the system assigned at 10.233.6.241 to the username to complete the format that was mentioned above. We have finished adding the codec to the DMA. Now let's add the HDX endpoint to the Real Presence Resource Manager. To manually do this, we have to register the HDX to the global address box. Navigate to the Resource Manager interface using your browser. Once you log in, click the Admin, then Directories, then Global Address Book menu. You should not see the HDX device in the list. Go back to the HDX browser interface and find the Directory Servers menu. It is under the Global Services menu. Select the Polycom GDS option. Next, add the IP address or URL for the Resource Manager system. If your company has a password, input it also. Check the New box and the Register box. Click the Update button. Once the system registers to the address book, you see a green check beside the Register box. Navigate back to the Resource Manager interface after the device status shows registered. Under the Global Address Book menu, you see the HDX codec and its accompanying address and alias. Also, the endpoint is now listed in the Endpoint menu. Under the Endpoint menu, select the Monitor View menu to view the listing. This concludes our review of manually adding an endpoint to the Polycom collaboration infrastructure software.